What's going on, everybody? Back in with our second game preview of the day. This game is going to be the Falcons versus the Panthers. A huge NFC South battle here. Both teams are coming off of victories. The Falcons beat the Jets 25-20. In a rainy day game. I think the Falcons are a lot better than what they've shown. Obviously, I think this goes hand in hand with their offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian, who had no prior NFL coaching experience, with most of his experience coming in college football. As a USC fan, I can tell you straight up that his offensive scheme is pretty bland, pretty average. Comes from the Norm Chow coaching tree. Norm Chow is very West Coast offense, and the Falcons offense is more of an explosive offense with the pieces that they have. They need to get Tevin Coleman involved in the passing game. They need to get Julio Jones involved more. Hooper, their tight end, needs to get involved more. They need to run the ball more effectively. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league. I just don't feel like their scheme is matching up with the personnel there. So that's why I feel like they've struggled to start this season. Obviously, this isn't really much of a start anymore, as we've hit the midway point here. So I just feel like that they need to find a way to get clicking if they want to get into the hunt here. I think they might even be in the hunt, but I feel like they should be so much better than what they are. And the Panthers, coming off a victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a Buccaneers team that we all thought would be better, but they're just not showing up. But yeah, here we go with the Panthers. A team that's very weird. Cam Newton sometimes goes out and balls out, and then there's times where he's just throwing the ball all over the place. I don't really like this offensive scheme either. I feel like Cam Newton takes way too many hits, and against this Falcons defense, this is going to be a problem because this Falcons defense hits hard and they fly to the football. That's two things that are a great recipe for success on the defensive side of the ball. And when you have Cam Newton back there, you know he's going to be taking hits. He's going to be taking the read option, scrambling. He needs to learn how to slide or get out of bounds or throw the ball away so he can avoid hits. So looking at some matchups here, starting off with Cam Newton versus this fast Atlanta defense. I know this Atlanta defense was a lot better last year, but they're still finding their footing more this year. This mold is of the the Seahawks defense, a cover 3 look almost, where they play a lot of 8-man boxes. And against the Panthers, a team that wants to run the ball but can't, that's going to be huge because I don't like the weapons that the Panthers have on the outside. Kelvin Benjamin, Funchess, Dixon, even splitting Christian McCaffrey out wide. I feel like they reached for Christian McCaffrey in this draft, because they're not using him, I guess, the way that you would expect them to use him, considering that I believe he was a top 10 pick. They pretty much drafted a slot receiver, it feels like, in this offense. Now, Cam Newton versus this defense, he's just going to have to, get the ball out quick, avoid costly turnovers against this defense. I know that the Falcons haven't caused a lot of turnovers this year, but I think this is the game that they can get on track. Cam Newton does tend to turn the ball over quite a bit. Him taking hits, throwing the ball. He's not a very accurate passer, so it's things like that. I think this Falcons defense can be very opportunistic in this game. Our second key matchup here is going to be Julio Jones versus any Carolina DB that follows him around the field. I think we'll see Bradbury on him. I believe Bradbury followed around Mike Evans, I believe, last week. So that's something to look out for here. One of Julio Jones's big games came against Carolina, where I believe he had over 200 or 300, I believe, receiving yards in a game. So look for that. Julio Jones is one of the most physically gifted, athletic wide receivers in this league. Matt Ryan just needs to get the ball to him. I know it's more of a scheme thing with Sarkisian. He's not really developing plays to get Julio Jones the ball, which is a huge problem when you have a stud at receiver. You need to develop schemes just for this guy, defensive schemes to take this guy out. Well, you can't really take this guy out when he's 6'4", runs a 4.4 40. That's something that we're going to have to look at here. And our third and final key matchup to look at here is going to be the Carolina run offense versus the Falcons run defense here. Carolina's run offense is very poor. It's just something that just isn't clicking. Cam Newton is most of the time their leading rusher. It's pretty sad, honestly. Carolina's offensive line is not very talented, but they can get the job done. It's just a matter of opening up those holes. The Falcons' defensive line is very, very talented. Vic Beasley, Grady Jarrett, Dontari Poe can eat up blockers. It's just things like that. If you can turn the Panthers into one-dimensional like the Eagles did a couple weeks ago on Thursday night, you have a great chance to win because Cam Newton is so inaccurate and he isn't the greatest quarterback, in my opinion. So now jumping to our 3 reasons why each team will win this game. Starting with the Panthers, they're able to have some semblance of a running game. Christian McCaffrey has to, they drafted him in the first round. They drafted him with a high pick. You need to see this guy more getting the ball on the ground. I feel like they just use him as a slot receiver. Like I said, you don't draft a slot receiver in the first round like that. So I feel like he needs to get the ball more on the ground. I know that there's not very many holes, but at the same time, there needs to be some type of scheme or concept that you could come up with to attack these guys on the outside of the perimeter with Christian McCaffrey on a running play. Number 2, Cam Newton plays a turnover-free game. If Cam Newton can play turnover-free, they can easily win this game. Like I said, most of Atlanta's problems are on the offensive side of the ball with their scheme. If Cam Newton can, drive them down the field, get points on almost every possession, either field goal or touchdown, flip field position in favor of your defense, you have a chance. And if you don't have any turnovers, you always have a chance because you can win the turnover battle. And our 3rd reason is that the Panther defense locks Julio Jones up. I'm going to put quotes on locks because his own offensive coordinator is locking him up. That's something we're going to have to look at for here is, Carolina, what kind of scheme they come out with on the defense side of the ball. If they can, find a way to limit, yards after catch for Julio, for Sanu, for Hooper, for Coleman, you gotta keep these guys. You gotta tackle them. You gotta wrap them up. You gotta bring them down to the ground so they can't really make any moves. First guy can't miss. Now, 3 reasons why the Falcons win this game. With the Falcons, it's plain and simple. Everything revolves around Julio Jones. Julio Jones needs to see about 10 to 15 targets a game. You might think that's a lot, but when you have a guy, like I said, who's uber athletic, you need to give the guy the chance. Throw it up to him. 50-50 balls. More often than not, he'll come down with the ball. You need to take those chances. If he can get 10 to 15 targets in this game, and he catches 7 or 8, goes for over 100, catches a touchdown, I think the Falcons can easily win this game. Number 2, they caused 4 turnovers and 4 sacks. Now, 4 turnovers is a lot in an NFL game, I know. But Cam Newton is not the most accurate passer. He's very turnover friendly, which will kill head coaches. And bringing Cam Newton down is already a task, and if you can do that 4 times in a game on sacks, you have a great chance to win this game, because then Cam Newton's going to want to try to bomb it, and when he tries to bomb it, bad things happen. And number 3, for the Falcons to win this game, they have to get Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman the ball. Plain and simple, both these guys need to combine for around 35 touches. Plain and simple. 20 for Freeman, 15 for Coleman in the passing game and the running game. These guys need to touch the ball. I know this is a problem in NFL offenses, is trying to get these guys the ball, but you need to find a way. Scheme-wise, draw something up where you stay in an empty base formation with 3 wide receivers and 2 running backs split out wide. I don't know. There's got to be something. There's, you got plays on Madden that you can run that opens up more scheme wise for your players. So that's something that Steve Sarkisian needs to get going for this Falcons offense if they want to return back to the Super Bowl. You have this offensive talent. You have a great defense. Use those guys. My prediction for this game is that the Falcons are going to win this game. I think they'll win very handily. I was looking over the schedule this week. There's not very many good games. Maybe 3 total. But yeah, I think the Falcons are going to win this game. I think they'll win this one like 31-17, honestly. I think this is the game where Julio Jones gets going, gets the ball, things like that. 31-17 Falcons. That's just how I feel about this game. I don't think it'll be close. I think that there's just too much firepower on that Falcons offense, and Steve Sarkisian finally figures it out with these offensive personnel. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I am out. Peace.